Om Agyantimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshuronmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamayam Dadati Swapadantivam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutaha Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Tamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Shute Devi Pranamami Priya Vanchakalpatarobhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So today we are going to be discussing from the 8th chapter of the Gita, and we are going to particularly discuss one very interesting and a very beautiful verse from the 8th chapter of the Gita. So, so far, we discussed the first two sections of the 8th chapter. The first section was on doubts. Arjuna asked many doubts to Krishna, and Krishna clarified those doubts in the first four verses. And then the last doubt of Arjuna was clarified in the 5th to 8th verse, which is the end of life. And today, we're going to be getting into another third section of this 8th chapter, which is called as Attaining the Supreme. And of this section, we're only going to take the first verse, because that verse itself is so heavily loaded with so much of beautiful information and so much of beautiful understanding of how one can actually understand Krishna, absorb oneself in Krishna, and attain Krishna. So you all can chant this verse after me. This is verse number 9. Krishna saying, Kavim Puranam Manushashitaram Anoradiyam Sam Anusmaredya Sarvasya Dhatram Achintya Rupam Aditya Varnam Tamasa Parastat. So in this verse, Krishna is talking about how one should meditate on him. So this is a translation to the verse. Krishna is saying, one should meditate upon the Supreme Person as the one who knows everything, as he who is the oldest, who is the controller, who is smaller than the smallest, who is the maintainer of everything, who is beyond all material conception, who is inconceivable, and who is always a person. He is luminous like the sun, and he is transcendental, beyond the material nature. So this is a very beautiful verse that talks about these different qualities of Krishna and how one can remember God. So one by one, we will discuss all these beautiful qualities of Krishna, and we'll discuss about these beautiful aspects of how one can remember him. All of us in our lives, we are aspiring to be spiritual practitioners, and the path of spirituality, one of the limbs on the path of spirituality is called Smaranam. There are 9 limbs of devotional service, starting with Shravanam, Kirtanam, and then third is Smaranam. Smaranam is remembering God. And we spent some time back speaking about how important it is to remember God. I think the last week I spoke about the importance of Smaranam. But in that discussion, we didn't speak about how to do Smaranam. So today, we're going to be talking about how to do smarana. It's very easy to say that one should remember God. But who will teach us how to remember God? And here is Krishna himself teaching us how to remember him. And what he's giving us is a small sample of the various ways in which you can remember him. Please don't think that this list is exhaustive. List is indicative. This list is actually a sample of the ways in which we can all choose to remember Krishna. So the first way in which one can remember Krishna is as Kavim. The word Kavim means the knower of everything. We find so many stories in the scriptures where Krishna seems to be knowing everything. We hear of this very beautiful story in the Mahabharata where one particular day during the war, Duryodhan goes and irritates Bhishma a lot. And he tells Bhishma that you are favoring your grandsons, you are not doing anything to destroy the Pandavas. He's really pestering Bhishma a lot. At that point, out of great anger, Bhishma just took a vow. He removed 5 arrows from his quiver. And he said, with these 5 arrows, I'm going to kill the 5 Pandavas. And Duryodhan immediately snatched those 5 arrows from Bhishma and he said, I'll keep it with me, give it to you tomorrow morning. Because Duryodhan knew that once Bhishma makes a promise, he doesn't break it. But he knew that these 5 arrows are very essential for Bhishma fulfilling the promise. And he didn't have a guarantee that Bhishma will actually manage to keep these 5 arrows. So he said, I'll keep it with me because I need these 5 arrows more than you. And he kept those 5 arrows below his pillow and went to sleep. And Krishna, he is Kavim, he knows everything. So Krishna knew that Bhishma had taken such a vow. Now, if you're going to ask me how he knew, from a logistical, managerial point of view, somebody might say that he had a spy. But that's not really the way to look at it. He is Kavim, he is a knower of everything. He knows the past, present, and future. So he knew, and he is a Paramatma sitting in everybody's heart. He is the oldest and the most reliable CCTV camera in the universe. And then this camera is fitted into everybody's heart. You can't even disconnect it. You can't even, hack it. You can't do anything to the CCTV camera. So Krishna knew that Bhishma had taken such a vow, and he was restless that night. And Krishna told Arjun, go to Duryodhan and ask him for those 5 arrows. Arjun said, why will Duryodhan give you those 5 arrows? Krishna said, remind Duryodhan of the promise that he had given you many years back when you saved him from the Gandharvas. Many years back, Arjun had saved Duryodhan from the Gandharvas. And at that time, Duryodhan was so embarrassed that Arjun actually saved his life. He told Arjun, ask for anything you want. At that time, Arjun said, I don't want anything now. Whenever I need, I'll ask you. So Krishna said, now is the time to ask him for that. So when Duryodhana asked for those 5 arrows, he was aghast because he didn't expect anyone to know about it because it was a private conversation. And then again, during the episode of Draupadi's Vastraharan, Krishna was not there. He was somewhere else fighting another war, very far away from Hastinapur. But nonetheless, Krishna appeared on that scene in Hastinapur in the form of a sari. We have seen so many incarnations of the Lord, but no religion in the world, no faith in the world can talk about an incarnation of God in the form of a sari, in the form of a cloth material. So here is another very, very interesting understanding of how Krishna is Kavim. He knows what is going on in the life of his devotees, and he is there for them. Again, when Durvas Muni was in Dvaipavan, coming to the house of the Pandavas, and the Pandavas had already washed the Akshay Patra. And after the Akshay Patra was washed, they would not be able to produce more food. Durvas Muni came with 60,000 disciples. Now, why is Durvas Muni so important? Because Durvas Muni is a very angry sage. And he could have cursed the Pandavas in the worst possible way. And at that point also, Draupadi just remembered Krishna. And Krishna is all-knowing. He just happened to be passing there. Now, who happens to be passing in a forest like that, So this is Krishna. He is all-knowing. There are different types of knowledge. In fact, there are 5 types of knowledge. The first type of knowledge is called Jada Gyan. Jada Gyan means nothing. All knowledge of electronics and chemistry and geography and biology and mathematics, all this is considered to be Jada Gyan. The word Jada means matter, and Jada Gyan means knowledge of matter. Matter is actually not so important. Matter does not matter. Spirit matters, But unfortunately, all our education is about matter, isn't it? It's like if somebody says, I have seen darkness, means what? I have seen darkness means nothing, isn't it? Seeing darkness doesn't mean anything, isn't it? So when you say, I know, I have lot of knowledge, but if you're only talking about knowledge of matter, you actually have no knowledge. Because that is a very limited phase of knowledge or very limited extent of knowledge. Higher than Jada Gyan is known as Atma Gyan. Atma Gyan is the knowledge that I am not the physical body, I am the spirit soul. So if somebody has Atma Gyan, he has a little more knowledge than somebody who has just Jada Gyan. Now you might have PhD in Jada Gyan, but the PhD in Jada Gyan means still nothing, basically. So after the Jada Gyan, the next level is known as Atma Gyan. Higher than Atma Gyan is known as Nirbeda Brahma Gyan. So Nirbeda Brahma Gyan here is someone who considers themselves to be Brahman. Therefore, they use this word Tattvamasi, So where you mistakenly consider yourself to be God, that is higher than just Atma Gyan. That means at least you recognize there is somebody higher than you, or at least you recognize that there is a concept of divinity. Higher than that is known as Aishwarya Gyan. Aishwarya Gyan is that knowledge by which you understand the supremacy of God. You understand that there is someone called God existing in this world. That is known as Aishwarya Gyan. For example, Lord Brahma, who is supposed to be the most knowledgeable person in the universe, at one point he tried to test Krishna and he failed miserably. When he tested Krishna and he failed, and he understood that Krishna is really so great, and he understood Krishna is God, that day Brahma came to a very interesting conclusion. The conclusion that Brahma came to was, he said, my dear God, I understood today that I understand nothing. The day he came to the understanding that I understand nothing, that day he has actually understood what is known as Aishwarya Gyan. That day he actually understood a little bit of what really God is. Higher than Aishwarya Gyan is known as Madhurya Gyan. Madhurya Gyan is the knowledge of Krishna's unlimited and inconceivable sweetness. This is called as Param Gyan. The Vrajvasis in Vrindavan have what is known as Madhurya Gyan. Nobody in this world has Madhurya Gyan. Not even people in Mathura have Madhurya Gyan to a great extent. Vrajvasis, they have Madhurya Gyan. And in Madhurya Gyan also there are different types of Madhurya Gyan. Like there are these 5 rasas, Shantaras, Dasyaras, Sakyaras, Vatsalyaras, and then Madhuryaras. Of these 5 rasas, the topmost understanding of Krishna is that of the gopis of Vrindavan. And among the gopis, the topmost understanding that anyone has is Radha's knowledge of Krishna. And her knowledge of Krishna, so Madhurya Gyan, as I said, is called Param Gyan, right? But Radha's understanding of Krishna is known as Param Gyan. That's the topmost knowledge that you can get in this world. There is no knowledge higher than this. So now, if you're wondering, what about Krishna? Krishna has knowledge more than that. So we were just trying to, help you understand how less knowledgeable we are and how much ignorant we are, basically. So in this category of all knowledge that we spoke about, where do we fall? We don't even fall in Jada Gyan properly, because even that we don't understand properly, isn't it? And therefore, when we understand that Krishna is knowledgeable, He's the knower of everything. That is the first step to understanding God. He is Kavim. The second way to remember God is known as Puranam. What is the meaning of Puranam? Means the oldest. Krishna is not just most knowledgeable, but he's also the oldest. In the Rajasuya Yagya of Yudhishthira Maharaj, there was a particular point where Yudhishthira was asked to offer the first argya to the greatest person in that assembly. And Krishna and Yudhishthira Maharaj, among all the people that were there in the assembly, chose Krishna to be the greatest. At that point in time, there were people much, much older than Krishna existing in this world. Vyasdev, Markandeya Rishi, so many exalted people in this assembly. Narada Muni, Bhishma, so many of them. And some of them were like thousands and thousands of years, some of them are millions of years old. But when Yudhishthira gave the first argya to Krishna, everyone said he is the oldest. So here, what is old age? Is old age only in terms of numbers? What is maturity? The scriptures bring a very amazing concept of maturity. Maturity is not by age, but it is by the number of sacrifices you have made in life. The number of sacrifices you have made in your life determines how mature you are. So, from that point of view, Krishna is considered to be the oldest. And because the number of sacrifices Krishna has made in his life, he's eternal, right? The number of sacrifices that he has made in his life are so many that you can't calculate it. Shukadeva Goswami was a 16-year-old boy. But though Shukadeva Goswami was a 16-year-old boy, all the greatest of great sages considered him to be more mature than them. In any sacrifice, a good quality animal is tied to a post. And that post to which this animal is tied is called Yustamba. So when a person is given a position, it's like tying him to a post for creating auspiciousness for others. A person on that post can't move. Others have the liberty to move here and there, and others have many allowances. But once you put a person on that position, that person loses his freedom. Krishna had no private life. He was living for others only. Who will accept women who were staying with a demon? This massive demon named Banasur. He kidnapped 16,000 princesses. And all those princesses, once they were kidnapped by Banasur, nobody in society, including their own parents, were ready to take them back. But Krishna not just took them back, but he made them his queens of Dwarka. So, taking them and keeping them as servants is one part. But actually giving them the position of queens of Dwarka is something else. So, the idea of, the oldest is connected with the idea of sacrifice. Who is a rishi? Rishis or sages are those who live life for others. So there are three things that indicate someone is a rishi. The first thing is, most human beings are concerned about themselves. But rishi has a genuine concern about the world. The second thing is that the rishi has full conviction about the process of Krishna consciousness. That Krishna consciousness is the only solution. And third, a rishi is someone who accepts inconveniences and risks for themselves in trying to help others. They have compassion in the heart. So Krishna was the oldest, not only from the age point of view, but from the point of view of the number of sacrifices that he has made in his life. And that makes him a rishi. That makes him someone who is mature beyond his capacity, beyond his age, This is the whole mood behind Krishna being Puranam. So Krishna is called Puranam. He is not just the oldest, but he is the most mature. And then we talk about the third quality of Krishna, which is Anushashitaram. So the word Anushashitaram means the controller. So one day, a man went to a dentist's office and he asked, how much will it cost to extract the wisdom teeth? This dentist said, 10,000 rupees. This man said, that's ridiculous. Is there any cheaper way of doing it? So the dentist, he looked at him and he said, if I don't use anesthetic, then I can take it out in, 7,000 rupees. But it'll be very painful. So this man said, even that is too expensive. So the dentist said, okay, I can save time. Instead of using my normal surgical process, I'll simply pull out the teeth with the help of some pliers. And I'll charge you 5,000 rupees. This man said, no, even that is too much. The dentist was scratching his head. And he said, if I let one of my students try it, so that they get some experience, then I will charge you 2,000 rupees. And this fellow said, done. He said, book an appointment for my wife next week. So people in this world want to have some control, but somehow they have so many people in their lives who don't allow them any control. And they're desperate to have some kind of control. Most people today, if they don't have any control over human beings, they like to control some animal in their lives. At least I feel that I'm a controller in some way. I tie up someone and someone will listen to me, basically. God is known as Anushashitaram. Not a blade of grass can move without the sanction of the Lord. There was one guy who heard this many times in his life, that not a blade of grass can move without the sanction of Krishna. He said, I don't believe it. How is it possible that not a blade of grass can move without Krishna's sanction? He said, I'll prove it, that I can do something even when God doesn't want it to happen. So he decided, he took a vow, that I will not eat food till sunrise next morning. Let me see how God forces me to eat. So this guy, he decided to fast. And he said, if I manage to fast till next day morning, sunrise, it means God has no control over my life. He started fasting for half a day. Then he started feeling hungry. He realized, if I'm going to stay in the house, I might end up eating. So he decided to go and sit in the forest and sit on top of a tree where no food is there, and he chose a tree that doesn't have fruits also. And he said, I'm going to spend the whole night in the tree and come back next morning. So he went to the forest and he sat on top of a tree. And after some time, when it became evening, there was a big group, like a marriage party, passing by that under the tree. And that whole marriage party, they had a lot of food with them. They all decided to sit under the tree only and eat their dinner. And this man realized, this is a temptation sent by God to test my determination. And these guys had nothing doing, I'm not going to come down. Like when the marriage party was about to start eating their food, suddenly they heard some noise and a gang of dacoits came in that area. All these guys, they ran away from there as soon as they realized there's a gang of dacoits coming, leaving all the food there only. This gang of dacoits came and they saw so much food and they started thinking. So one dacoit was very excited about eating. The leader of the dacoit said, no, this must be some plot on somebody who's trying to kill all of us by poisoning this food so that they will take away all our loot. He said, whoever has poisoned this food must be hanging somewhere around. They started searching and they found this guy on top, hanging. So they said, this fellow surely would have poisoned the food. They pulled him down and brought him down. And they told him, eat this food. And he said, no, I've taken a vow, I can't eat food. They got even more convinced that this fellow has poisoned the food. They took that food and stuffed it in his mouth just to, test it on him whether the food is poisoned or no. And that's how this guy's promise broke. And that's how he came to know that not a blade of grass can move without the sanction of the Lord, because he couldn't even keep a fast without the sanction of the Lord. So most people, they know what they are doing, but less people know how they're doing it. But very less people, they know why they're doing it. So understanding why we do something is very important for us to do that thing in the right way, the right consciousness. So when we understand that when we practice spiritual life, we know some very subtle aspects of spirituality. As you get more serious on Krishna consciousness, you ideally, it's good to become more dependent on Krishna. So as you practice your spiritual life more and more and more, and as you grow in the number of years of practicing spirituality, ideally, we should know that whatever we do in our life, there is a hand of God behind it. A lot of people think that it is their skills, their intelligence, their abilities that is making them do great things and achieve great things. But as you become more senior and more advanced in your spiritual life, you realize, I actually have lesser and lesser control over my life and over everything I do. And there is more and more dependence on God for everything that I do. And one of the ways in which you can increase your dependence on God is take up more responsibilities in serving Krishna. And the more responsibilities you take up in serving Krishna, suddenly you realize, I am not capable of doing so much. And then you become even more dependent on God. Because ultimately, Krishna only can make us do anything, isn't it? Just by simply increasing the number of responsibilities we take up, the number of services we take up, we actually can increase the number of the dependency that we have on God. So the next quality of Krishna, which we can meditate on, is Anor Aniyamsam. Krishna is smaller than an atom. When we realize that everywhere God is present, it's an amazing realization to have. The word Anu in Sanskrit refers to an atom. Atom is the smallest particle in this universe, isn't it? It is explained, even within an atom, the Lord is present. That means there is nowhere in this world that God is not present. There's a very beautiful story of a great saint named Kanakadas. For those who are from Karnataka, you will really recognize this name, Kanakadas. He is an exalted saint, but he was not born in a Brahminical family. So people in that era, they didn't consider Kanakadas to be something great. But his guru, Vyastirtha, he considered Kanakadas to be a very, very exalted person because he immediately recognized this boy. All the other boys who were part of the Gurukul used to make fun of this Kanakadas because they always felt this Kanakadas doesn't have too much knowledge. They always felt that Kanakadas doesn't understand Sanskrit, doesn't understand, anything deeper. And therefore, because Kanakadas doesn't understand Sanskrit and doesn't know grammar much, they used to all make fun of him. One day, just to show all of them what is the difference between Kanakadas and all of them in terms of understanding. Yes, knowledge is different, but application and understanding of the knowledge is very different. Vyastirtha, he called all his disciples together and he gave all of them a banana. And he told all his disciples, I want all of you to go into the, go anywhere and eat this banana and come back. So the disciples are wondering, what kind of a test is this? I mean, you can eat a banana easily, isn't it? But the Guru said, you must eat the banana in a place where nobody is watching you. All the disciples, they started coming up with very unique ideas of how to eat when nobody is watching. So they all went to different directions and each one ate in a very unique way and came back. One person sat on top of a tree and ate banana. Another person went into a cave and ate a banana. One person went inside a river and ate a banana. And like this, they went to different places, very unique places, and ate a banana and came back. Kanakadas, after a long time, came back with the banana. Everybody started laughing at this boy. He said, you can't even find a place where nobody is there. So this Guru, he knew there must be some logic behind what Kanakadas is doing. He asked Kanakadas, why didn't you eat the banana? Could you not find any place where nobody is there? Your friends, they could find so many places. Kanakadas explained, I went to all the places that these boys went to also. But in each of the places, I found somebody is looking at me. And the Guru said, who was looking at you? Kanakadas said, the Paramatma in my heart. Krishna within my heart was constantly looking at me wherever I went. And therefore, I could not find myself alone anywhere. Imagine if all of us just understood this one principle in life. How much life would be different for us, isn't it? Just this one principle that Krishna is present in every atom. Krishna is present in every place, every single. There is not a single place where Krishna is not present. If that was the case, then so much money would have been saved on putting CCTV cameras everywhere, isn't it? Why do we put so many CCTV cameras everywhere? Because everyone is convinced that when I cheat, nobody is going to see. When I break some rules, nobody is going to see. Everyone is convinced. And because everyone is convinced that nobody is going to see when I do something wrong, break the traffic rules, do all kinds of mischief, simply because of this determination that nobody is seeing me. But look at this. Anor Aniyan, Krishna is there in the smaller, is smaller than the smallest. Every single place in this world, Krishna is present. And this one single thought can change the way the world functions completely. And this is the way in which we can meditate on the Supreme Lord. The next quality of Krishna is known as Sarvasya Dhatram. Sarvasya Dhatram means that he is the maintainer of every living entity. The word Dhatri, Dhatram, it refers to a mother, it refers to a nurse, it refers to someone who is caring for you, taking care of you, maintaining you. The word Sarvasya Dhatram means here is someone who is maintaining everyone in this world. One time, there was a great exalted saint named Anantacharya. Anantacharya, once he was reading Bhagavad Gita. And while reading Bhagavad Gita, he comes across a shloka where Krishna is talking about how he maintains everyone, provides what you lack, and takes care of what you have. This is the motto of LIC, Yoga Kshemam Vahamyaham. That means what you have, I take care of, and what you lack, I provide. Obviously, it is life insurance policy, but it's actually death insurance only. I mean, after you die only, they will provide you, basically. While you're living, they will not provide you. So, Krishna, when he says Yoga Kshemam Vahamyaham, I'll provide what you lack and protect what you have. Anantacharya said, this is not making sense to me. Anantacharya said, how is it possible that Krishna will provide for everyone? Anantacharya, while reading this particular verse of the Gita, he underlined this, not underlined, he cancelled this verse with a red pen. He took a red pen and he actually struck through this verse. He said, not possible. Krishna can't do this. This is wrong verse. Imagine, in Bhagavad Gita, he's cancelling, So, and Anantacharya did like this in the Gita and he went away to have a bath. So when Anantacharya went to have a bath, after some time, his wife, she was in the kitchen doing some service. She heard a knock on the door. And she opened the door and she saw two little boys standing there. One was a dark boy and one was a fair boy. And both these little boys, very innocent looking boys, they had lot of stuff in their hand. Vegetables and rice and dal and so many ingredients they had in their hand. So this Anantacharya's wife, she asked them, who are you all? I've never seen you all before in this village. Where did you all come from? These little boys, they told Anantacharya's wife that we have come to give you some items because your husband has told us to give this to you. But we are very, very scared of your husband. Anantacharya's wife said, not even an ant will be scared of my husband. He's so harmless. how come you all such innocent, sweet-looking boys are scared of my husband? They said, no, he beats us very badly. So his wife was even more shocked. I have never heard of my husband beating anyone. What is this? And this little black boy, he turned around and showed his back to his Anantacharya's wife. There was red marks on his back, And he said, I am very scared of your husband. He beats me with whip. So, and then saying this, they gave all the ingredients and, they ran away. And Anantacharya's wife took all the ingredients and she began to cook a big feast for Anantacharya. And after some time, Anantacharya comes and he sees this elaborate feast is ready here. So Anantacharya asks his wife, where did you get so much ingredients from? His wife said, you only sent it through those two little boys. And why were you so cruel to those boys? Anantacharya said, what boys are you talking about? I never sent anything to anybody. And then his wife explained the details. And that's when Anantacharya ran to his Bhagavad Gita and he opened the Bhagavad Gita and he saw those strike marks that he had put on the Gita had disappeared. And actually, Krishna came personally to prove that that verse is right. Obviously, for us, we'll have people from Amazon and Zomato and Swiggy coming and giving us stuff. Don't consider them to be Krishna's representatives. They are definitely not. But the understanding that we have to have is that when Krishna is saying, I provide and I protect what you have, it's a deeper message. It's a very deep message that we need to understand. The deeper message is that whatever we get in our lives, whatever we have in our lives, whatever we earn in our lives, let's not think that it is my earning only. It is Krishna providing, isn't it? If you think about it very carefully, I'm going to tell you a statement. It's a very interesting statement, and I want you all to think about this statement. It says, the source of your income is not the source of your maintenance. The source of your income is not the source of your maintenance. What does it mean? So, there might be a company that you're working for and that's the source of your income. But if you think that that company is actually maintaining you, you're wrong. God is actually maintaining all of us. How? God maintains every living entity in this world. The company may be paying you money, but where do those ingredients come from? You might say, I eat rice, but where does rice come from? The earth. Where does earth come from? Earth, nobody's manufacturing rice, earth, right? Does someone manufacture water? Does someone manufacture air? Does someone manufacture sunlight? Does someone manufacture the process of photosynthesis? Nothing is manufactured by us. No living entity in this world can claim that I am manufacturing all of this. This world is like an incubator. Every single ingredient in this world has been provided by God. And the most amazing thing is that you'll find elephants who are so huge in size. They eat 150 kilos a day. And you'll find small ants that eat like a few grams a day. Both of them have enough food. There is absolutely no scarcity for food ever in this world. There is enough for everyone's needs, but there is not enough for even one person's greed. The way the world is created is in a way that no matter who you are, no matter how intelligent or unintelligent you are, no matter how educated or uneducated you are, there is enough for everyone. There's more than enough for everyone. And who is ensuring there is enough for everyone? That's Krishna. Therefore, this verse, when Krishna is saying that Sarvasya Dhatram, I am the maintainer, we can meditate on this fact. Every day when we eat food, just one moment, let us think that the food on my table is put to me not by some shop and not by some person, but it is put to me by God. And this one thought that Krishna is maintaining us, providing us everything, is a very, very powerful way in which we can understand and meditate and remember God. The next quality is Achintya Rupam. Achintya Rupam means he is a person. He has an inconceivable form. So he is not impersonal. Achintya Rupam means he is not impersonal. He has a form. God's energies are beyond our jurisdiction. And therefore, God is called Achintya. What is the meaning of the word Achintya? Achintya means inconceivable. For example, when the Lord incarnated as Varahadev, there is a very interesting description. Varaha is a boar incarnation of the Lord, right? Usually in animals, this is the way animal kingdom operates. They identify each other by smell. So if the animal of the same species comes next to them, they smell them and they understand this is my species. Like for example, Varahadev, when he came as a boar, all other boars could connect with him. They smelled him and they felt he is one of us. But when Marich came as a golden deer, in the Ramayana, we find Marich comes as a golden deer. All other deers ran away from him. Because when they smelt him, they realized this guy doesn't smell like us. He smells something else, How come all the animals, the boars, when they smelled Vishnu, Varahadev, they felt he is one of us? Because whenever the Lord incarnates in this world, he gives up the Abhiman that I am God. He gives up that Abhiman. That Abhiman is what makes you smell different. So when you think that you are great, that there's a particular smell associated with that, you can almost smell it, right? In your own in your own organization, in your own family. There are some people who they have so much pride in them, you can almost smell it from a distance. This guy is not our person, And there are some people that don't carry that pride in them, and you almost feel that this person is ours only, isn't it? God, when he appears in this world, he gives his Abhiman in the spiritual world and comes down. And therefore, all the entities in this world, they feel he is one of us only, though he is still God. This is known as Achintya. Achintya means inconceivable. How he does it? No idea. We can't do this. But Krishna can definitely do this. The most amazing thing about Varahadev's incarnation, so Varaha, when he comes when the Lord appears as Varaha, he is so huge. His size is so magnificent that it is said that Varahadev, one pore of Varahadev's body, these hair follicles are in pores in our body. One pore of Varahadev's body is so huge that all the oceans can fill it up. Only one pore of Varaha's body. All the water from all the oceans in the world can fill up only one pore of Varaha's body. That's how gigantic Varahadev was. The same Varahadev, when he appears as Krishna in Vrindavan, the same Krishna, Yashoda Mai gives him a bath in half a bucket of water. Half bucket water, his bath is over. How can you understand this? That's why the word is used, Achintya, inconceivable. We can't understand it. That's the way Krishna is. So when we understand that Krishna is Achintya, so this is the power of Krishna. This is the magic of Krishna, and this is one of the ways in which we can meditate on God, Achintya Rupam. And then the next quality of Krishna that we can meditate on is Aditya Varnam. Aditya Varnam means he is luminous like the sun. So let's just focus a little bit on the sun. I'm in UK right now, and it is said, there was a point in time where it was said that the sun never sets on the British Empire. And today, the situation is that the sun never rises on the British Empire, literally. Everybody, all day long, they're only talking about the sun. They say, sun didn't come today. Sun came, but it went to, behind clouds today. And the sun came, in spite of sun coming, it is so cold today. Constantly talking about the sun only. And it's very interesting that when we meditate on the Lord being the sun, as luminous like the sun, what does it really mean? I'm going to just help you all meditate on the sun. And when you meditate on these few qualities of the sun, and you realize that exactly these qualities are there in Krishna also. What is the first quality of the sun? The first quality of the sun is that it is so steady, isn't it? We can set our clocks based on the sun. We can set our life based on the sun. Absolutely sure at the same time he'll set every day. Absolutely sure at the same time he'll rise every day. There's so much steadiness in the sun. And it's not for days and days and days. This is for decades and centuries and millenniums. So much steadiness. Now tell me, who in the world has such steadiness? All of us, we do things to some extent, but after beyond a certain point, we're not steady, isn't it? We start chanting, and after some time, mood changes, and suddenly we're not chanting, and then again we become steady again. So we are hardly reliable, isn't it? But the sun is steady, and that's how one should be. That's how one's spiritual life should be ideally. No matter what happens, I will practice my spiritual life. That's the kind of steadiness that spirituality needs. That's the kind of steadiness that Krishna shows. Always there for his devotees. Whatever he promises, he does it so steady. The second quality of the sun is that the sun doesn't give light and heat for itself. It is always serving others. The sun doesn't benefit from its light and heat. It is giving others. It is serving others. Similarly, Lord Krishna is constantly serving others. That's the mood in which he lives. That's the consciousness with which Krishna lives. Always serving others. The third quality of the sun, a very, very amazing quality of the sun, is that the sun dispels darkness with the light of knowledge. Similarly, Krishna comes into this world to dispel darkness with the light of knowledge of the Gita. We are all benefiting from the Gita in the most darkest of dark times, isn't it? We are all in Kali Yuga, absolutely utter darkness all over. But yet, the knowledge of the Gita is shedding light into our lives. And that's the way Krishna is, shedding light in the darkest of darkest phases of life. Fourth quality of the sun is that it frees the diseased mind. Wherever there is good sunlight, mental problems are less. Wherever there is less sunlight, so much depression and mental problems. So the sun frees the diseased mind. Similarly, Krishna frees the diseased mind. As soon as someone takes shelter of Krishna, that person, actually the mind gets free from the diseases, from the anarthas, from the vices. And finally, the sun provides warmth, isn't it? Similarly, Krishna consciousness, spirituality provides so much warmth to the heart. The moment you start practicing spirituality, you feel good. You feel amazing. You feel that warmth of connection with God. And that is the way Krishna is. When anyone connects with Krishna, they feel warm in the heart. And like the sun, and Krishna and his representatives, they're all doing the same, all these things constantly. Krishna is steady, the devotees are steady. Krishna is always serving others, the devotees of the Lord are always serving others. Krishna dispels darkness with the light of knowledge. The devotees of Krishna dispel darkness with the light of knowledge. Krishna frees the diseased mind. The devotees of Krishna also try to free the diseased mind. Krishna provides warmth. Devotees also try to provide warmth. Similarly, so when we look at either Krishna or Krishna's devotees, let's remember the sun. And when we remember the sun, we remember all these qualities of the sun, and immediately we are reminded of this particular verse, Aditya Varnam. That is a quality of Krishna in connection with the sun. And finally, the last quality of Krishna that we can meditate on today is Tamasa Parastat. The word Tamasa Parastat means the Lord is transcendental. What is the meaning of transcendental? Transcendental means beyond the modes. He is beyond the modes of material nature. He is transcendental to the modes of material nature. When we say beyond the modes, what does it really mean? The three modes of material nature, Sattvagun, Rajagun, Tamagun, it makes us act in particular ways. Those who are in Tamagun, they are forced to act in a particular way. Tamagun makes us delusioned, makes us very confused, makes us unclear. We lose clarity in Tamagun. Rajagun makes us passionate. Rajagun makes us desperate. Rajagun makes us have unlimited desires. And Sattvagun gives us clarity. Sattvagun gives us knowledge. Sattvagun gives us freedom from sin. But all these modes, they bind us. They bind us in this world. So to experience the goodness of Sattvagun, we have to take birth again. To experience the effect of Rajagun, you have to take another birth again. And to experience the result of Tamagun, we have to take another birth again. But the Lord is beyond the modes. Tamasa parastat. That means whatever he does is transcendental. What is the meaning of transcendental? We all know dental, What is the meaning of transcendental? When I came to ISKCON, this is the first time in my life I heard this word transcendental, I never heard this word in my entire, study of English and reading so many books. Never heard this word ever before. What is the meaning of transcendental? So the word transcendental simply means the one who is beyond this world, not a part of this world. And the Lord and his devotees are in this phase. They are beyond this world, beyond the modes of this world. We find in the stories of Lord Krishna and so many devotees of Krishna, we find this quality so powerfully there. I'll tell you two stories. There was one devotee, a disciple of Srila Prabhupada, whose name was Jayananda Prabhu. His name was Jayananda. He was preaching, he was in the Western world, he was in America. He was a mechanical engineer from, if I'm not mistaken, the University of Chicago, if I'm not. This is in the 1960s. Now, being a mechanical engineer in 1960s from a university in America is a big thing, isn't it? Even today, if you get an engineering degree from any of the universities in the Western world, it's considered a big thing. And this man had a degree in mechanical engineering in 60s. And he somehow became inspired by Srila Prabhupada and he began to serve Srila Prabhupada. He became a full-time devotee. He was never interested in Jada Gyan. He was interested in Atma Gyan. He was interested in Paragyan. So he began to serve Srila Prabhupada on the mission. He was such a happy person. You won't believe the kind of radiance and happiness that he generated. I mean, any of y'all can Google for him, his name is Jayananda. You can look at his face, effulgent devotee. He was such a happy person. The people in the market, I'm not talking about devotees, these were normal, these were non-devotees in the Western world, in the market. They used to call him Jolly Anand because he was so happy. He was always jolly. He was like, happy. Of course, half of them couldn't pronounce the word Jayanand, So they used to, by mistake, call him Jolly Anand, and that became his name, literally, So everyone used to call him Jolly Anand. And this man was another level only. This man, he had so much compassion in his heart, unbelievable amount of compassion. He would go and preach to people whom nobody would even dare to look at. Jayanand Prabhu would go to the bars in America. And in the bar, he would cook halwa for all the people who were drinking wine over there. He would actually cook halwa for all of them, offer it to Krishna, and feed all of them. Who in the world will go and do that? And why will anyone go and do that? Look at the kind of compassion that he had. He felt if people eat Krishna Prasad in the bars, they will get spiritual benefit and they will slowly get rid of this habit. So many days he would go and cook halwa for these people in the bar. And these are people like he had no idea who they were. And they had no idea who he was. But he would just go and cook halwa. One time, he was driving on a highway. And as they were driving on a highway going somewhere else, Jayanand Prabhu saw an apple tree on the road. He stopped the car. He got off from the car. He took a picture of Krishna with him. kept it under the tree, and he chanted mantras and offered the whole tree to Krishna. And the devotees are wondering, what is he doing? And then Jayananda Prabhu was saying that if this apple tree is offered to Krishna, every apple that grows on this tree will be prasad. Whoever eats these apples, they will get Krishna prasad, Imagine what kind of compassion is this, isn't it? This is another level only of compassion, basically. And Jayananda Prabhu, he would himself be building Jagannath Rath Yatra carts. We are all celebrating Jagannath Rath Yatra. On 2 weeks, we are having Rath Yatra. We'll probably do one session on Jagannath pastimes, one of these Thursdays, I don't know when, but we will discuss Jagannath Katha in one of the sessions. But Jayananda Prabhu, he was the one who originally began Rath Yatras in the Western world. The first Rath Yatra in the West that happened in San Francisco, the cart was built by Jayananda Prabhu. So he, using his mechanical engineering degree and his talents, he built a cart from scratch. Can you imagine what kind of talent and intelligence he had? Massive carts he built. And while building these carts, in those days, there were not much devotees. The Jayananda Prabhu was literally single-handedly building these carts. And you know who would help him to build these carts? All the drunkards and drug addicts on the road, he would catch them and inspire them to help him to build carts. So he would be under the cart doing repair of these massive giant carts, and there would be some drunkards sitting on the road, And Jayananda Prabhu is preaching to this fellow. This guy is half awake and half unconscious, but Jayananda Prabhu is preaching to him like anything. And so many of those drunkards became devotees eventually. So imagine what kind of compassion it takes to be able to do this kind of preaching. And therefore, this word tamasa parastat means transcendental. It refers to those people who are beyond this world. Srila Prabhupada and all of the great exalted devotees that we know of, they are all beyond this world. Just like Krishna, beyond this world, tamasa parastat. So when we look at any devotee who's exhibiting qualities like this, which is not really a part of this world, they're just beyond this world. That's when you realize that Krishna, imagine how great Krishna will be and how much beyond this world Krishna will be. And that is how these 8 qualities that we meditated on Krishna, they become a part of our lives. So let us all try our best to meditate on these 8 qualities. We spoke about Krishna being Kavim, the knower of everything. We spoke about Krishna being Puranam, the oldest among everyone. And then we spoke about Anushashitaram, that means Krishna is the controller. And then we spoke about Anor Aniyan, that means Krishna is smaller than the atom, which means that Krishna is seated in everybody's heart as a Paramatma. Then we spoke about Sarvasya Dhatram, he is the maintainer of everyone. He provides and takes care of all of us. Then we spoke about Achintya Rupam, Krishna has inconceivable form. And then we spoke about Aditya Varnam, that means Krishna is luminous like the sun. And finally, we spoke about Tamasar Parastat, that means Krishna is transcendental. So with these, we come to the end of today's session. And let us hope that we focus on these 8 qualities of Krishna, such beautiful qualities of Krishna, and meditate on these qualities. And hopefully some of these qualities will help us meditate and understand Krishna a little better. And hopefully someday, some of these qualities also start manifesting in our own lives. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. If anybody has any questions or comments, please. Please put up your hand and I could unmute you all and you can ask a question. Monica ji.
Prabhuji, amazing, super class. You made us understand so well, Prabhuji. Please, I want previous recordings. I've missed it, Prabhuji.
Okay. Yeah,
Thank you so much.
Are available on the YouTube channel, so please.
Okay. Okay. Danvat Pranam, Prabhuji.
Are they on YouTube? Anything else? Any other questions anybody else has? Sarita ji?
Hare Krishna. So transcendental meditation, right? I've heard about this. So think I sort of understood. I think Krishna consciousness is so hard to understand. I sort of understand him being transcendental, but how do we practice transcendental meditation? That is something I've heard over and over. Also, how say Osho or other people have also sort of practiced it. I just wanted to, get your understanding.
So when Osho says, talks about transcendental meditation, please don't think it is the same thing as what I'm talking about. It is very different. They just use the word transcendental, but it doesn't really mean it is transcendental. The word transcendental is always in connection with Krishna. When there is Krishna, that is when things become transcendental. If there is no God in the picture, there's no question of something being transcendental. So spirituality can be practiced at many levels. The highest level of practicing spirituality is when you involve God in your life. When you actually practice based on understandings that Krishna gives in the Gita, and through the parampara, we understand it from a bona fide sampradaya, from bona fide teachers like Srila Prabhupada. So just because somebody uses the word transcendental doesn't necessarily make it bona fide. Okay, so the way what we suggest, as a recommendation, the Hare Krishna movement, what we suggest as a recommendation to practice transcendental meditation is chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. That is the most powerful way of invoking the presence of God in your life and invoking the presence of transcendence in your life. So I highly recommend you to chant the Hare Krishna Mantra. And if you need any help in chanting, and if you need any help in understanding how to do it, you please connect with us personally, and we will definitely help you to understand the process and give you a handhold and guidance on how to practice the process. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sarita ji. Anuradha Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Danvat Pranam. Prabhuji, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes.
Yeah, Prabhuji, it's about this complete surrender. Now, there are times that you really feel, okay, his presence is there. And at times we feel so low. And again, we're back into the sulking mode. Again, we need to push ourselves back. There are times when you're really excited and you're chanting and you are really into that energy. So how do you just stay in that energy and, not come down?
So basically, it's like, I don't know how many of you all have seen trapezes. These in circuses, there's these trapezes that jump now from one rod to another rod, So where do they get so much confidence to jump from here to there, They get confidence based on the fact that there is a net below. The net is there to protect them, basically. So similarly, for all of us, the protective net in the association of devotees, that protective net gives us at the back of our mind a thought process that, let me jump, and there is somebody to save me, there is somebody to protect me, somebody to take care of me. So Krishna's devotees are like a protective net for all of us. And they inspire us to practice our spiritual lives, no matter what our mood is currently. So one day we might have a very high mood, and one day we might not be so confident, But nonetheless, because we have protection of devotees below, they keep pushing us, they keep inspiring us, and they keep telling us, don't give up, And I think that's the greatest hope for us. So you should have a group of devotees whom you are very closely connected with, and on a regular basis, if possible on a daily basis, please be associated with them. And that little pushing that they give you is the hope for us to continue steadily on this path. Okay. Purnamasi, this is the last question we'll take. Okay, Aurora.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Thank you again for a wonderful class. It's amazing to hear your insights. I had one question, Prabhu. In the previous lectures, I've heard that for anything to happen, you need the Jiva, Jagat, and Jagdish, right? All three working to other thing. Otherwise, everybody would have been a Michael Dell or a Forbes millionaire, right? So, but when we come to understand how this happens you mentioned that nothing happens without the sanction of God and Krishna, and not even a blade of grass moves. How do we understand when someone commits suicide? Is that God has sanctioned something like that? How do we understand that, Prabhu, in that?
Yeah. So basically, when we look at someone doing something that may not exactly be in alignment with what is sanctioned by God, what is allowed by God, what is recommended by God, you should understand that they have free will. Free will means the freedom to choose what to do and what not to do. Krishna does not control our free will. He guides us based on the scriptures and based on the association of devotees, but Krishna doesn't force us to follow something. Krishna allows us to execute free will, basically. So, having said that, what it simply means is that, yes, even that act which is wrong, it cannot happen without the sanction of the Lord. But when we say sanction of the Lord, it doesn't mean the Lord wants it. See, when Lord sanctions something, it doesn't necessarily mean he wants that to happen. It's like, someone using this fingerprint machine and, swiping in through a fingerprint machine, and he gets access to a door. So everyone who gets access to the door doesn't mean everybody is sanctioned to actually go through that door, isn't it? So some people can forge it also. Some people can act smart and get in also, So many times when we see that Krishna is giving us freedom to do things that even we don't want to do, or rather we should not do, it doesn't mean Krishna wants us to do it. It just means that Krishna doesn't interfere with our free will. He doesn't control us so much that we become robots. So he gives us the free will, and he gives us the freedom to choose the way we want it to choose. And based on our karma, he only sanctions. So most of the cases, Krishna is a silent sanctioner. He's a father, ultimately. He feels bad. But also because he has a responsibility of being God, he has to play a neutral role in our choices. So he tries his best through education to try to help us make the right choices. But beyond a certain point, he doesn't control. Just like parents, they also help their children make right choices. But beyond a certain point, they can't do anything about it, isn't it? Children may make wrong choices, but what can they do? They just have to stand aside and observe silently, helplessly, to a great extent. So Krishna, in the same way, he tries his best to serve the devotees in the best capacity, doing everything that in his control, but beyond a certain point, he just lets go. So that's the way I look at it and understand. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Aurora ji.
Thank you, Prabhu, for this session. I just wanted to just clarify if I've got this right. I was reading about all the avatars only today, and you mentioned that Krishna came as a sari for Draupadi. Now, did I get it right that this can also be called an avatar? I just wanted to clarify I've got it right.
Yeah, you will not find this avatar in the list of avatar. This is a very special type of avatar. So see, the Lord can take, he can do anything. So basically, he can make matter into spirit and spirit into matter, right? So just like an expert electrician can make the same electricity into cold and heat, right? You put it in one in the fridge, it will become very cold. You put it in a heater, it becomes very hot. That's the expertise of the electrician, isn't it? Krishna is an expert in transforming matter into spirit and spirit into matter the way he wants. And because he is such an expert, he can do anything he wants. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you, Prabhu. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Sarita, this will be the last question we'll take for today.
Yes, and thank you so much for taking my second question too. Again, you don't have to answer it in this lecture, or if you've actually answered it previously, please direct me, with that recording. So I was reading in a book that Krishna avatar is the most complete avatar with all 16 gunas, and if you see Ram, he had 12 gunas and other avatars, which comes with different qualities. So today you were explaining the qualities comparing him with sun and other forms. So if you have any lecture on what the 16 gunas are and how we understand and sort of incorporate those qualities in our life.
So it's not 16, 64. So these 64 qualities are elaborated in the Nectar of Devotion. But you can just pick up this book called Nectar of Devotion by Srila Prabhupada. And there's a chapter called 64 Qualities of Krishna, and in which these 64 qualities are described in great detail. So I would highly recommend you to pick up the Nectar of Devotion and read it. If I do a lecture on these 64 qualities at some point in the future, I will definitely let you know.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I need to rush now. I need to run to catch a train in some time. I'll catch you all next week and continue on the discussions on Bhagavad Gita, the 8th chapter. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.